I'm getting so tired. I'm getting so.
Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Now check this out. Everything is on the table now. Everything is on the table. Matt knows that this is Eve's son. Cole knows that Matt was his mother's boyfriend from 9th grade on after graduation. He knows that his mom was sneaking around with his dad, and they ended up falling in love and getting married and having him. He knows everything, and he wants to stay where he's at, but he's uncomfortable. That's understandable, right? He's uncomfortable about the situation, and he doesn't know what to do. But see, there are other things that are going on at the same time, right? See, the DA, he's concerned about Cole. You know, he understands what's going on, and he wants to make sure that the Department of Corrections is keeping an eye on him and making sure that he's okay, because this is a unique circumstance. This is not like punishing somebody because they intentionally hurt somebody. This is a tragic situation that resulted from a bad decision, negligence, and it hurts in ways that other situations might not, if that makes any sense, because this is his father, the person that was partly responsible for bringing him into the world, and now he's responsible for his father no longer being in the world. So the DA talks to Cole's lawyer quite often, and they called the Department of Corrections, and they found out, because they wanted to let them know to keep an eye on him and all about his circumstances, and they found out that Cole was in the cell with Matt. And when they found out who Matt was, they were concerned because the circumstances around this situation are unique. They're different. What makes them different is that Matt is in prison for assaulting Randy, which is Cole's father. Now, the DA that's in office now, the DA that sent Cole to prison is a different DA, but they still are aware of the circumstances of the case and all this and that, and they become concerned. They wonder if Cole knows who he's in the cell with. So what they do is they tell the warden to make sure that Cole is safe. So the warden becomes concerned about the situation. And the first thing they do is that they call Matt to see his counselor. And when they take Matt to talk to the counselor, they explain to Matt as if Matt is not aware of what's going on. But Matt tells them that we talked about it. He knows. So the counselor picks up the phone and he calls the warden and he tells the warden what's going on. And the warden says, okay, so where are we at here? What's going on with his son? How is Cole acting? And surprisingly, they found out that Cole is okay. And then they call and they talk to Cole's mother, and they tell her that the situation, as if she doesn't know. And she tells them that, no, I talked to Matt on the phone the other day, and they pulled the phone records and they verified that was true. So now they're confused as to, it's almost like they were a step behind, but they still have to be concerned because situations in here could change that fast and become tragic for everybody involved. So they let the DA know the situation and what's going on. So they tell them that, look, everything is fine, and we're going to keep our eye on the situation, and we're going to monitor the situation. And as they're monitoring the situation, they discover that Matt is on psychotropic medication for depression to deal with his issues of his case. So they, for whatever reason, they think that's an issue of concern because they think that at any time he might have a psychotic break or something and cause problems in this situation. So they pull Cole to the counselor's office and they get the warden on the phone and they tell Cole what's going on, and he says, I trust him. We've talked about this. I trust him. I don't want to be in the cell with anybody else. Now the warden has to be responsible for the whole penitentiary, and sometimes he can't take the word of an inmate when they say that they're okay, because he has to be concerned about way more than you being comfortable in one cell or the other. You know what I mean? Things can happen and he'll be held accountable. And if something happens, they'll say, well, why didn't you know this? Why didn't you know this? So he orders that Cole be moved out of that cell and moved back to the other side of the compound so that there was no way that Matt could be anywhere near him. But see, the warden was one of these wardens, like, you know, fights are going to happen in the penitentiary. So he didn't really put too much stock in, you know, Cole getting into a fight with his Celley when he first came in and ended up in the hole, right? He said things like that are going to happen. We just move beyond them. So when he put him back on that side of the compound, his old Celley was making moves. And he got upset about people talking about how Cole choked him out. Don't nobody want to get choked out in the penitentiary, y'all. Don't nobody want to go through nothing like that. So here's what happened. Here's what happened. Listen to it. They put Cole back on the other end of the compound. He's pissed. They put him in the cell with somebody about the same age as him that don't live right, getting high, don't want to clean the cell, talk crazy all the time, fighting all the time, always into something. It's always somebody coming to the cell wanting to see where he's at because he owe him money and all this and that, and people coming in and out of the cell just grabbing stuff off the shelf, and Cole is not having it. He's not having it. So his celly one day, to get out of debt, he pulls the old flea flicker. He pulls the flea flicker. When Cole was gone to work, when he was off to work, he let some people come in the cell and told them to get all the stuff off of his shelf and Cole's shelf, and the debt would be paid. So when Cole came back, he pretended as if he didn't know what happened. But see, Cole had a few guys that worked with him on the electrician crew that happened to be off work that day. And they watched everything go down. And they told Cole, he let some dudes come into his cell, some young dope boys, right, gang members, come into the cell and get everything. They took everything out of there. And he let them do it. So Cole, he understands, he's been in prison long enough now to know penitentiary rules in effect. You can't let nobody take nothing from you. But hey, he's trying to be patient, stay out of trouble, and hopefully everything will sort itself out and then he can move back to the other side of the compound and be in the cell with Matt. But it don't work out that way. Because later on that afternoon, those same gang members came to visit. And they said something to Matt. They asked him if they were going to have a problem with him. You know what I'm saying? Because they came and took his stuff. And he told them in a stern voice, bring my stuff back and it won't be a problem. But if you don't bring my stuff back, it's going to be a problem. It's as simple as that. So they left and went to talk to the OG. The OG told them to go take care of it. Simple as that. Simple as that. See, now let me tell you something. What they didn't understand is, see, Cole, he was a good electrician. And he had rigged something that looked like a pocket knife, but it wasn't a pocket knife, but it would deliver a volt of electricity to you if he touched you with it, shock you. And that's what he was going to use. He didn't want to kill nobody. He just wanted to scare them. And if you ain't never been shocked by electricity, I know when we were kids, right, we used to go out in the country, and these farmers, they would have these fences around the cows, right? So you could touch the fence and it'll shock you. It's a little bit of small volt. It'll hit you, right? And it wouldn't hurt you, but you could feel it. So what we used to do is hold hands, and one person would hold it, and then the last person would get shocked by it. So I know what electricity feel like. You feel? I know what it feel like. It don't feel good even when it's not that much. So Cole had fixed it up to where he was going to shock people. Because when you get hit with electricity, you don't know how to respond to that. All you know to do is scream and try to go the other way. And I'm talking about that's man or beast. Use that electricity, you're going to get out the way. So when they came up in the cell, Cole pulled out what looked like the butcher. They didn't care nothing about that because he wasn't holding it right. He swung at him and he touched him. And it shocked the one dude. He said, ow! And he ran back toward the cell door, but the cell door was locked. And one of the brothers on the other side, he was out there looking in there and seeing what was going on. Now, they had to hit a button on the inside to open the door, but they were panicking. And when they turned their backs on them, both of them, he hit the other one with it, and they're, ow! Just screaming. He's shocking them. And he said, you better bring my stuff back. You better bring my stuff back. And he hit the other one on the neck. He just dropped down to his knees and pee-peed and poo-pooed all over his cell. Just over with. He hit the button for him, told him to get up out of his cell. They come up out the cell running and crying. The one dude, like I said, he done pee-peed and boo-boo all over his cell. Everybody looking like, what did he do? They don't see no blood, no nothing. What did he do? He in the cell. He waiting on them to bring his stuff back. They bring his bag right back over there to him. Then he tell his Celley, you gotta go. Don't nobody know what he did. And the two dudes, they tell me, the man shocked us, man. They looking at him like, how somebody shock you in the penitentiary? They didn't know what he had done. They didn't know what he had done, but they knew they didn't want to mess with him no more. Somebody hit you and make you pee on yourself, what you gonna do? Stay away from him, man. You can't even control your bowels when you mess with somebody that got that electricity. So they left him alone. His Celley ended up, when locked down that night, they locked him up in the hole. So the warden them hearing about it, they like, what's going on? They shake the cell down. They find this little contraption he done made. They put him in the hole for possession of a deadly weapon. Now everybody hearing about it. He the electrician. Now he got a nickname. Cole the electrician. And he ain't playing with you. So the warden them come into the back to talk to him. And he tell him, he said, look, warden, I ain't gonna be no problem. Just put me back on the other side of the compound in the cell with Matt. And the warden looked at him, he said, son, I can't do that. This man is in prison for assaulting your father. He said, that was before me. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Me and him and my mom, we talked about this. I feel safer around him. I feel more comfortable around him. The warden looked at him, he said, I got to think about this, but I'm not making you any promises. And he left. As the warden was walking away, he's talking to the warden over security. He said, move him back to the other side of the compound after he finished his whole days. But watch him. We got to make sure this one. We can't let nothing happen. You know, Matt got a mental problem. You know, he stole a little bit. Now, they were aware of that. And they were going to stay on top of that because they didn't want nothing to happen. The DA had talked to him and told him the full story about Cole. They were watching him. They were surprised that he hadn't lost it already. So the next day, they came and they told him he had 3 more days to go. He had a total of 5 days in the hole. 3 more days to go, they put him back on the other side of the compound. But he couldn't be making no more of them contraptions no more. If they catch him with any more deadly weapon, they're going to put him in the hole. He's going to stay in the hole longer the next time. He promised them that he wouldn't do anything like that again. But his reputation already done spread all over the compound now. They calling him the electrician. You better leave him alone. Because he going to shock you with that electricity. And I'm telling you, if you ain't never been shocked with electricity, you don't want to be. You don't want to be. For real, it's a different feeling, man. It's a different feeling. It'll make you feel like your heart going to pop out your chest. So don't nobody want to play with that in the penitentiary because they didn't know how he did it. They didn't know how he did it. Even the police were leery of him because they don't understand how did he put it together. But he attributed all that to his dad. Him and his daddy used to do stuff like that. And he learned all the things that he know from his dad. So after his 3 more days was up in the hole, they moved him back to the other side with Matt. Matt is overjoyed that they put him back in the cell because he had been depressed the whole time he was gone, worried about him because he couldn't do anything to help him on the other side of the compound. So when he put him back in the cell, Matt made some more burritos. They ate and they talked. And they became close. They became close, and Cole was going to visit at least once a month to see his mom, and every now and then his mom would ask about Matt, how's he doing? And he could tell that his mom was still fond of Matt. He could tell that. And he could tell that his mom was just sad because she was lonely and didn't have nobody in her life. His dad was gone, the love of her life was gone, and he didn't know what to do. So he would share this with Matt, tell Matt, you know what I'm saying, what his mom was going through, and Matt was sympathetic and he would listen, but he would not dare say anything out of the way. He didn't want to be that dude. He didn't want to be that dude, but he really wanted to talk to her. He wanted to talk to Eve. Back in the day, he would just be mesmerized by the sound of her voice and the way she would laugh and all the things about her. And he knew deep down that he still loved her. He still loved her, and he wished that he had another chance, but he knew that was beyond his reach now because he still had a lot of years to go, and the love of her life was gone, and it just wouldn't be right. It couldn't be right. Couldn't. So one day, Cole was on the phone talking to his mom, and he called Matt to the phone. He said, Matt, talk to Mom while I go use the restroom. So he leaves, and he goes to the cell, and Matt is on the phone. It's about 15 or 20 minutes left on the phone, and Matt and Eve are talking, and they're talking about old times and how they used to enjoy each other's company and all the things they used to do. And before you know it, it was an awkward silence between them. And Matt said, it's hard, isn't it? And she responded, yeah. She said, my heart is torn in part. It's torn in two. She said, I love and miss my husband, but I'm starting to realize that I never stopped loving you. And I don't want to do anything to hurt my son, she said. Nothing to hurt my son. And he said, you know, I've gotten to know him. I wouldn't want to do anything to hurt him either. So what we want, we can't have. It can't be. She said, if it were away, I would. I really would. But it can't be. And he said, I know. He said, but I want you to know that I do still love you. And she said, I still love you too. But what neither one of them realized, because they were so wrapped up in the phone call, that Cole was standing right there looking at Matt talking. And like I said, you can hear sometimes when a person is talking loud what they're really saying on the other end, and then he knew exactly what Matt was saying, and he stood there, and then he tapped Matt on the shoulder. He said, you know, I've been standing right here for the last 5 minutes. And Matt looked up at him. He said, hold on. Your son has been standing here listening to us. So Matt said loud enough so Eve could hear it. He said, how long have you been standing there again? He said, 5 minutes. He said, what did you hear me say? And Cole said, I heard you say that you still love my mom. And I could have sworn she said she still loved you too. So Matt looked at him. He said, I think we're busted. And Eve said, what? And Matt said, he heard us. And she said, what did he say? So Cole grabbed the phone and he said, Mom, it's okay. You said to me that Dad want me to move on with my life. And I know he would want you to move on with yours too. The past is the past. He said, we got to move forward now. So she started breaking down and crying. She said, what do you mean? Tell me what you're saying. And she said, does Matt make you happy? And she said, I don't know if he makes me happy or not, but I know how I still feel about it. I haven't seen him in years. I just hearing his voice still makes me want to talk to him more and more. And he said, get on his visitation list and come to see both of us then. And if you want to know how this pans out, you're going to have to tune in to the next episode, right? This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.